Mark, there was some FCS over FBS carnage this weekend, including Virginia and Washington State. Given I know that you have a lot to correct and all that, but was it nice to do that with a 25-point win? I mean, I guess you can never take that for granted.
Absolutely, it's always nice to correct with a victory in your rearview mirror, and you're always going to have something to work on, whether you win by in a shutout or it goes the other way. But yeah, it's a lot easier to have everybody's attention. Usually, I should say, with a victory, and you absolutely can't take anything for granted.
Being yesterday our first chance to talk to Troy Dye, he seems like just kind of a very humble, bring your lunch pail to work kind of guy. Is that the kind of attitude he brings around the locker room?
Again, as I said last night, how he played is how he's practiced every single day since he's been here. He's just been one of those guys that's electric. I think he talks with his play. He talks a little bit too. He likes to mix it up, but we appreciate the heck out of a guy that can play that hard and make that many plays, and kind of earns that right to play with confidence. And he set a great benchmark for how he's going to play in the future.
After taking a look at the film, talking with Dakota yesterday, he said that the tempo wasn't where it needed to be and that he was the reason for that.
Hello?
Oh.
Go ahead. You're in. Hold on, just listen.
Sorry, he said that the tempo he was the reason why the tempo wasn't to where it needed to be. After taking a look at the film, what adjustments do you think need to be made to up that for Virginia?
Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes it was on us as coaches of schematically giving either him too much to think about, or we had some alignment things. One time we had one time where the guard wasn't set, got a penalty. I mean, the guard's the closest guy to the ball. He should be the first guy set, and so there are just a lot of those things that played into it, and a lot of, again, very, very correctable things.
Talked a lot about getting new guys to do less thinking and just playing free. How do you feel like Prukop did in making his progressions and correct zone reads and in that aspect of things? Pretty good.
He had a couple of very examples of very good and a couple examples of why didn't we do A, B, or C. And so again, he'll take that and run a bunch of things with just our base footwork of guys that are in there for the first time. The freshman offensive lineman, that's one thing where you just talk about trusting your footwork, trusting your training all the time in there, and one time those guys get beat, then they start wavering, and again, very natural. Had one time just on the defensive side where never seen that before, how it happened. Jalen Jelks, a drop end, trips a guy in coverage, and his guy's wide open, and very bizarre how that came about. So just a lot of things like that can be easily rectified.
Going forward this season, would you give any thought to, say, putting Justin Herbert in a third series of a game or something, just to give him like a meaningful drive instead of kind of waiting to see what happens at the end?
Not at this point. If that became something, where it was a little more merited just on how training has gone, that we would do that.
Chantel and Andrew, I trust that you're on the line if you have a question.
I'm not sure if Chantel's on the line, but I just got patched through. For Mark, in the past you've said that season opening wins, early wins, maybe it's a lot of miscues, some errors, and they're not quite up to your standard. But it's important to know that you guys did win, and that's really hard in college football. Is there a point where you kind of try to prop your guys up and say, that wasn't what we wanted, maybe entirely, but you have to savor winning? It's not guaranteed.
Sure. I think you talk about that to a degree. I think just individually, a standard of excellence and how each guy prepares and how each guy plays is something that affects everybody. And so you're dealing with all sorts of personalities and all sorts of guys that need to be motivated different ways. And obviously that's where from the top down, everybody needs to kind of play their part. But yeah, celebrating wins is a lot more fun. I mean, it is hard to win in college football, and there's a lot of competition. We're talking about. They were just asking about the Washington State game. I guarantee every kid at Eastern Washington, probably wanted to go to Washington State at some point and has been thinking about that all year long, and every workout over the summer, every rep in the weight room, and they prepare differently for those guys, and so. You cannot take any of that for granted.
Yeah, if I might get one more in, Dave, watching Charles out there on the takes direct snaps on special teams. I know it was asked a couple weeks ago about Taylor Alley and how he doesn't have necessarily a natural spot in a rotation right now, but he is the best holder. Are you guys trying to maybe think of a way to get Charles to be a holder? So you can cut down one guy on a travel squad and maybe make Charles a little more multi-dimensional and give you guys that threat on extra points.
Well, we're certainly trying to utilize him as a weapon, absolutely. And no, on the other part of that, as a roster spot, Taylor Alley is our primary holder, and Charles is a holder as well. And so that won't. It won't be one or the other type of situation going forward.
After having 24 hours to digest this, what are some of the things that you're most encouraged about seeing that on the film?
Most encouraged about, I think we have a lot of young talent and a lot of guys that I just can't wait to see where these guys are down the road. Several weeks from now, and our job obviously is to make that happen as fast as possible, make those developments occur minutely rather than weekly, and so we try to make that happen and expedite that. But the young offensive linemen, when they did their thing, it was good. When we weren't very good, it wasn't very good. Had a couple of protection mistakes, had a couple fits in the run game defensively, or several fits in the run game defensively that when you've got, again, two guys misfitting a fly sweep a two-back power play, and that we had a couple runs pop on us, let a playing man free, and the free safety gets beat deep on that long the long shot play right after we had scored. If you do just those things they have nothing to do with the opponent, nothing to do with anybody but yourself, those developments can occur a lot faster.
Sorry, quick follow-up to that. Because you do have such young talent and that is going to take some time to develop, do you guys, maybe say, okay, we're going to take these first 2 weeks to kind of see how they do under the lights and everything like that, and then have that first real evaluation at, say, the Nebraska game, or are you more constant evaluation after every week?
Constant. Every rep of practice for us is a huge display of everything, of competition, of evaluation, and that's something that we try to instill in them early and often. And you can't take a breather here, there, and that's you guys talked about some of those things that happen around the country ever. And by the same token, some of our veterans had easy mistakes that they can correct. And so the first game of the year sometimes leads to odd things for young and old.
Brady Hook was joking with us about how good it felt to, be back into a college football game. You've worked with him for months now, but could you sense how excited he was to be back into the swing of things?
Definitely. I was joking with him beforehand. After this game, he's going to be wrong, no matter what. Right? He can't, unless he gives up 0 yards and 0 points, he's going to be questioned. And as a member of the media, that probably didn't happen. But he's loving it. Loves the competition and the grind today of getting it corrected and flipping the page to the next opponent. It's something that's just kind of in you, or it's not. It's definitely in him.
You hit on this briefly last night, but limiting punt return yardage. What were all the factors that went into that? And point of pride, I think you've mentioned that was something you wanted to address coming off of last year.
Yeah, definitely. Our punt team wasn't good enough last year, we went about that and tried to solve that some in recruiting, just having a little bit more depth, particularly some kind of your linebacker body types that can protect and cover. And so hopefully that will pay dividends throughout the season. But protecting obviously is the first thing. The mechanics of the snap and kick, directionally kick, and get guys that can really run on the outside. Fair catches win games, and if you're doing those other things correctly, we had the one time where the guy let it bounce and fielded the punt, which he had done the previous year a few times, and we showed the guys the opportunities that happened the year before, and so encouraged by that, and we'll have a lot more tests as we play different people.
Going into fall camp or through fall camp, you said linebacker was probably one of the toughest positions to kind of get a feel of how that would shake out depth-wise. How do you feel like this group performed? And then, I guess, secondly, seemed like the three guys that started and McDowell kind of maybe your four primary guys. How do you envision that depth growing down the road, or is that kind of a set number right now?
Yeah, it'll be dynamic just in terms of who we're playing, the personnel who we're playing, what type of offense their base is, and then how they substitute will essentially match that. But Dye, Reagan, and AJ, for the most part, were really good. Had some alignment things that kind of was on them as far as communicating. Had some run fits that were on them that again are very correctable. And then from there had a few other guys in there, some good, some bad, and that will be ongoing as far as who's the 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th person into that.